Right. So you wake up in a dream, right?
Yeah.
But it feels so real. You can feel the wind, you can see the plants, and they're glowing blue.
Yeah.
That's where we find Tom again.
Yeah.
Back in Critunajory, those dreamlike favelas. He's on this rooftop terrace, and he's having a conversation with his other self, the Mago.
Uh-huh.
Quite a way to pick up where we left off, don't you think?
Definitely. You know, what's interesting to me right off the bat, we're seeing this layered reality again. Tom keeps experiencing it. It's
That
not just a dream. It's like he keeps interacting with this other part of himself. Makes you wonder about this internal dialogue he has going on and how it affects everything that's happening to him in Zara.
Absolutely. And this isn't just some casual chat. Tom is dealing with some serious consequences, right?
Yeah.
Billions of deaths to revive someone, this whole double life he's living. And we're seeing that struggle continue here.
Right. And the sources we're looking at today, they really dig into this conflict Tom has inside and out in this weird world of Zara. It's like the weight of what he did, it's still shaping his present through these reflections and conversations he keeps having.
Our mission's the same then, to understand how Tom's choices and where he is now in Zara are being affected by all of this as the story continues. So let's get right back to that rooftop conversation, shall we?
Let's do it. So the Mago, he calls Tom out. Still with my face, huh? He says. Shows that this whole identity thing, it's still a huge issue between them.
Yeah. And the Mago just says, that's who I am now. And then, like it's nothing, he mentions their shared mental problems.
Yeah.
Because of these conversations they have.
Right.
It's almost funny in a dark way.
Yeah.
But you can tell Tom is really uncomfortable being connected to what the Mago did.
What really gets me is how detached the Mago seems when he talks about the billions of deaths. Yeah. He says it was terrible, but then he goes straight into how much he enjoys exploring these cities in Zara. Like the contrast between that huge loss and his own pleasure, it's jarring. It makes you wonder if he truly understands what he caused.
Like he knows it was bad, but doesn't really feel it, right?
Yeah.
That's when Tom really pushes him, asks us about the how. How is this revival even possible? He wants to know the mechanics of it, but also the morality.
And the Mago, he explains that this world, it doesn't have inherent magic. People had to use their own energy, and sometimes they would sacrifice themselves for stronger magic.
Makes sense.
It sets the stage for understanding why such extreme measures were needed for the revival. It wasn't just about power, but about a specific type of energy.
Which makes you think, what happens to all that energy when someone dies?
Right.
And Tom brings it up. And the Mago, he uses this analogy of a cup of water breaking. The energy, it dissipates over time. Helps you visualize why they might have needed so much life force.
Yeah, that dissipating energy, it explains why they needed such a huge source for a revival on that scale. And it leads Tom to ask, were the billions of deaths the source?
Exactly. But the Mago, he quickly introduces something else, the grace of Shad.
Mm-hmm.
He describes it as unbelievably powerful, but it requires sacrifices. It adds a whole other layer beyond just manipulating energy.
So it's not just the amount of energy, it's a specific kind tied to this entity, Shad, and what she demands. Tom, of course, he wants to know who else had this grace, and why did so many have to die if Shad wouldn't take their lives directly? What was the connection?
And the Mago, his answer is, well, it's kind of disturbing how casually he says it.
Yeah.
Well, everyone dies, nay. Cemeterio.
Wow.
Like death is just
stick 'em in place.
After entire worlds were sacrificed, It suggests a very different way of looking at things.
Yeah, that statement, Emnya is a cemetery. It really underscores the feeling of loss, and maybe even acceptance in a world that's been so heavily impacted by what happened. Makes sense that Tom wants to know more. Why did so many die? What role did Shad play?
And then the Mago starts talking about how devoted he was to Shad.
Yeah.
His journey to her temple. You get this picture of intense dedication. Like that was his driving force to find this power.
Uh-huh. And when he describes meeting Shad in her true form, this intense connection, and then that night when he wished to be born in every world with every divinity's grace, it almost sounds arrogant, like a wish made without fully grasping the consequences.
And then he reveals the price, the Amandla of 3 whole worlds. It hits you how massive this was, this Amandla. It seems to be this powerful life force, magical energy. This wasn't some small spell. It required a sacrifice on a scale you can't even imagine.
Right. And the Mago, he makes it clear that Shad, she didn't order the killings. It was the energy needed. He calls it a provocation and his own sacrifice. He says it was his conscience, that constant burden.
Which, I don't know about you, but compared to billions of lives lost, it feels like not enough. But then he reveals something even more horrifying. After the spell, he kept dying, born and then exploding.
That's a whole other level of consequence. It wasn't just the external cost, but the mago himself suffering over and over because of what he did.
And the number of times he exploded, once for each person who died.
Ugh.
That's a direct connection between the sacrifice and his pain. Even when he was finally born as Lulusen's son, he was still carrying that mental weight.
It's a picture of deep trauma. For the world and for him, the mental and emotional scars, they clearly haven't faded.
And just as you're taking all of this in, the Mago, he just ends the conversation. He mentions that Tom's getting used to traveling between Zara and Earth, says they'll talk more later. It's so frustrating.
I know. It really shows how the Mago controls everything, giving information in pieces, keeping Tom and us guessing. Feels deliberate.
Oh, totally. So Tom wakes up back in Bushkar, annoyed at the Mago's control. He's thinking about Marifa, the Mago, sharing these bits of the past.
Yeah.
But on his own terms, not necessarily for Tom's benefit.
Right. And Zaza's not there, which creates this interesting situation. Tom feels relieved to have time to think, but he misses her, even though she's intense,
It's complicated.
Yeah. Their whole dynamic is.
So Tom, he's struggling with this idea that Chad didn't specifically say, go kill all those people. It seems like the Mago chose to do it because of the energy needed. He's wondering about responsibility. Does he feel guilty for something that happened so long ago that wasn't directly his doing, especially when he's already dealing with the Shantanian incident?
Yeah, that guilt, that responsibility, it's always there for Tom. He's trying to make sense of who he is now with the things this other part of him did, and he's trying to figure out the morality of this whole situation in Zara.
And right as he's thinking about all of this, the spirit of Kar appears.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah. She's pleased to see him well. Very matter of fact,
Kar's interactions, they always have this unique perspective. Like, she's detached from emotions in a way. Like, when she thanks Tom for contributing to academic progress with the Shantanian incident, it's like her way of looking at this tragic event is almost academic.
Yeah, Tom's upset about the deaths, obviously. But Kar, she blames the organizers of the demonstration for not being prepared. It's like, Tom's not responsible.
It's a very practical assessment.
Clinical, almost.
Right. And then she explains why the Shantanian was so hard to fight. They're resistant to magic from grace users because they feed on them.
Yeah.
It helps you understand why it was so dangerous. But Kar, she sees the whole thing as a valuable lesson for Bushkar, for all of Zara.
Yeah.
Very utilitarian. And her way of showing gratitude, well, it's pretty dramatic. A celestial arm comes down and blesses Tom, and suddenly he's euphoric. All the negative feelings are gone.
Talk about a mood booster.
It shows you how powerful Kar is and how she can directly change emotions. She mentions that Tom has received her blessing more than once, makes you think there's something special about him, his role in Zara.
And then she drops a bomb. She says there are plans to imprison Tom in Zara, and he needs to escape. Talk about a mood swing from total bliss to danger, just like that.
It's just got a lot more serious. It's not just the past anymore. Tom's freedom is threatened in the present.
Exactly. The spirit leaves, and Tom's looking out at the city with this worry hanging over him. And that's when Zaza shows up. Very sneaky.
Zaza being back, it just complicates things even more for Tom. She's surprised to see him awake, and then they embrace, they kiss. And Tom, he's still feeling that euphoria from Kar, so everything's intensified.
It's interesting how they feel the next morning. Zaza's exhausted, but Tom, with his golem body, he's not tired at all. It's like a constant reminder that he's different here.
Yeah.
Not quite belonging.
And their conversation, it makes Zaza's intentions pretty clear. She says she's trying to keep Tom in Zara because these short visits are too hard on her. She even calls him her fiancé, talks about her rights. It shows how possessive she is, her vision for their future together.
Tom, he admits he enjoys being with her, learning in Zara, but he's careful not to promise anything. He warns her not to get the wrong idea.
Yeah.
But Zaza, she's set on this engagement. Feels like trouble brewing.
And then they take a bath together. It shows how much Zaza wants to be close, to make Tom a part of her life. And then she gives him student clothes, a class schedule. It's like she's actively trying to make him stay, to fit into Zara's society her way.
And she mentions this diplomatic report from Jantir. She thinks there will be problems because they control information so tightly. Makes you think about the bigger picture, the politics in Zara that could affect Tom.
So even though Kar warned him, Tom's getting pulled or maybe pushed into everyday life in Zara, and he starts by attending this fluxomancy class.
Fluxomancy. Sounds like their version of logistics, moving things around. Even Tom said some of the descriptions were totally incomprehensible.
I bet.
But he goes anyway. And he can feel everyone staring at him. Curious, judging him after the Shantanian incident. It's good that Kar's blessing is helping him stay calm.
And the class is near where the Chantenane attack happened. It's a reminder of what happened and Tom's connection to it, even if he wasn't directly responsible.
What's interesting is that the station, how they move things around, it's not all levitation magic like you might think. It's more about mechanics. He ends up in Professor Primuscar's class, and there's this glass model of an engine. Shows how magic and technology mix in Zara.
Yeah, and the professor, he calls Tom Zanel, like he's connected to the Zinal Grace.
Yeah.
And he makes this train joke. It seems like Zaza's trying to make Tom a part of Zara with a specific identity.
And Tom's confused because he expected Shad to be more likely, given everything that's happened. It brings up that question of who he is here, how others see him, and then, of course, someone asks if he's the one who called the Chantenane.
Of course they do.
It gives you a glimpse into how people view the incident, the person they think did it. They end up deciding Tom doesn't fit the description. Shows how easily people judge based on appearances. So the lesson starts, and Tom learns about how their trains work. It's fascinating. This orb collects magic from the air to power creation and combustion enchantments, like a steam engine, but magic instead of coal.
The way they described it, filling the orb with magic, using it to heat water in a magically reinforced tank to make steam, it's like they seamlessly blend magic into their tech. They rely on magic to make things work instead of just physics.
And to put enchantments on the tanks, they need the grace of Miameter and a specific magical plea. It shows how connected their everyday stuff is to divine power.
Makes sense.
The professor, he's car-blessed, so he demonstrates on the model engine using car's magic. Tom knows this magic, so he asks for paper and a pencil. He wants to try it himself.
Oh, interesting.
But his first attempt to write the water creation enchantment, it doesn't work. He realizes that just knowing the words isn't enough.
Right. The professor explains that you need 3 steps. You write the enchantment, then you imbue it with magic, and then you add conditions. You're basically giving a divine command with magic.
And that's Tom's aha moment.
Yeah.
He needs to put his own magic into the words. He focuses his energy like he's highlighting the text. And he sees those familiar colors flash.
The ones from the hospital.
Yeah. And the paper starts to sweat, water droplets form, it dissolves the paper, and the spell's complete.
Wow. So he can do magic.
The girl who lent him the stuff, she saw it happen. She smiles and asks how hard it was to get to Miameter's temple to receive his grace. She thinks he's Miameter blessed now.
Oh, that's funny.
And Tom, he plays along, says it was super hard, that's how he lost his arms.
Nice.
The girl's totally shocked.
I bet.
So the class ends, and Tom's watching the train station, all busy. You wonder what he's thinking about his new magic abilities, what they might mean in Zara.
It makes you wonder, right?
But then he sees Trat. She's in uniform, heading towards those maintenance tunnels. It's been a while since that train incident, and Tom realizes he hasn't talked to her.
He sends her a mental message right away, shows how aware he is of their connection. And she responds, stops, turns around, tells her people to go ahead. She's willing to talk, even with everything going on.
They meet, and there are so many emotions. Trat's shy, embarrassed, but also happy to see him. Tom apologizes for not contacting her, explains the situation. Trat smiles and takes his hand.
But then she apologizes too. Says she's doing something she's not proud of, that she's being forced. She says Zaza asked her to find a way to keep Tom and Zara, and that it wasn't a simple request.
So Zaza's behind this.
Seems like it.
Tom's surprised. He doesn't get why Zaza would need to blackmail Trat. He trusts what Zaza said before, that she wouldn't force him to stay. So he tells Trat not to worry, to do what Zaza asked. He thinks Zaza wouldn't do anything to hurt him. He's trying to make Trat feel better.
But Trat, she starts crying. She says she really wants her research to be successful, even though it means Tom might be trapped.
That's rough.
Remember what Carr said? About Tom's consciousness? A hostile aura of love.
Yeah.
This feels connected somehow.
So Trat stops crying. And then she kisses Tom.
Wow, out of nowhere.
Tom kisses her back. Trat's feeling terrible, but Tom jokes that being from another planet makes his time in Zara feel like a fantasy. It helps, but he's still guilty about the Chantenane deaths.
That guilt's not going away easily.
No. Trat admits she's torn. She doesn't want him trapped, but she doesn't want him to leave either.
It's tough.
Yeah. Tom tells her not to feel bad, says it'll be okay, but he doesn't sound so sure when he asks her what she's doing there.
She says she works in pest control. They have to get rid of animals that get into the tunnels to prevent accidents.
Makes sense.
And then she jokes about them running away together to remove Tom's bracelet.
So, an escape plan.
Maybe.
Tom says he doesn't think he can, or even wants to run. But he doesn't want to be trapped to not be able to leave.
And Trat, she reveals that she's researching a way to free him. But she needs someone else to actually do it.
There's hope then.
Possibly.
Tom thanks Trat and kisses her head. But then his mental alarm starts going off. Uh-oh.
Not good.
He asks how close she is to doing what Zaza wants. Trat gets serious and sad. She says, close. I found some spell lines that might work together, but I'm not sure.
So close.
Tom asks her to let him know if they see each other again. The alarm's getting louder. Trat kisses his hand. And then Tom wakes up.
Just like that.
We cover a lot, didn't we? Tom's still battling his past. Things with the Mago and Zaza are getting more complicated. And then there's Carr with her warning, and Trat's stuck in this tough spot.
We learn more about magic and Zara, how much power was needed for the revival, what it cost the Mago, and the threats to Tom's freedom, they're getting bigger.
There were a lot of aha moments for me, especially learning more about their magic system and seeing how the past is still affecting Tom. And the danger, it's definitely increasing.
For sure. It paints a very intricate picture, and it doesn't feel stable at all.
So here's something to think about. Tom's story clearly isn't over. What do you think is the biggest challenge for him right now? Is it what he and the Mago did in the past? Or is it the fact that his freedom is being restricted right now in the present? Or maybe it's the people around him with their own desires and agendas. How do you think Carr's warning and Trat's research will play out? It feels like we're heading towards something big.